Hey guys, it's Brian with Retired at 40. What could be better in the middle of summer than some Iowa sweet corn? How about 100 ears of Iowa sweet corn? But what could be better than that? Being able to freeze dry 100 ears of Iowa sweet corn so you can enjoy them year round, not just 1 or 2 months out of the year. So today that's what we're gonna do. Some freeze dried Iowa sweet corn, but first I have to shuck 100 ears of corn. All right, now that we're all husked, we need to get this pesky corn silk off of here. And the silk is all this hair that just grows to the kernels. This will actually come off really easy if you use a brush. I'm using a nylon, one of the barbecue brushes, but if you just kind of go back and forth, a lot of that will get pulled off by that. Or any kind of just a soft bristled brush, something that's not gonna actually damage the kernels, but it's still gonna have enough stick to it to pull that stuff off of there. So once we get the silk done, we're actually going to blanch the corn. That's a very important part. We're going to talk about that now. So blanching is really important when you're talking about vegetables and freeze drying. Even if you're not freeze drying, even if you're freezing vegetables, and what you do to blanch, you just take a pot of boiling water. And blanching actually helps you do two different things. It's going to help maintain nutrients and vitamins and important things in the vegetables. And it's also going to help maintain the texture when you go to rehydrate a freeze-dried food. So I'm going to let this boil. Then we're going to take our corn cobs. We're going to dunk them in the boiling water for about 6 minutes, 5 to 6 minutes. And we're not going to fully cook these. We're actually just going to blanch them. And that's really going to help seal in those vitamins and seal in that texture. All right, water's boiling. Corn's going in for 6 minutes. So not only is it going to help with the vitamins and keeping its texture when rehydrated, it's also going to help keep this nice golden yellow corn color that we love, and it's also going to help it taste better when it's rehydrated. So ideally we want our corn to go from this hot water to some cold water. So I just cleaned our sink up, and then we're just gonna use our kitchen sink as an ice bath. After your corn's cooled down, just use a serrated knife. You can use a bread knife, or you can use a smaller knife like this. And then we're gonna go onto our tray. I'm lining mine with parchment from freezedryingsupplies.com. You could also use silicone, but I think the parchment or silicone is gonna be key on these trays because sweet corn and corn just tend to be pretty sticky. So I think that it's gonna wanna stick to the tray, and if you have that parchment or some kind of liner down, it's just gonna give you that release. And I'm gonna do 8 cups per tray. It's a large freeze dryer, so this is a large tray. The maximum I like to put, pretty much no matter what it is 8 cups onto a large tray. So to make this interesting, on one tray, I'm actually gonna do some Johnny's popcorn salt. And then on another tray, I'm just gonna do just some salt and some pepper. And we are ready to go. I'm using the newest software. This is the first cycle that I've done with the new software. I'm gonna do my popcorn salt on the top. Do my salt and pepper on that next shelf down. And then 3 more trays of just our plain old blanched Iowa sweet corn. And in case you were curious, it took 80 cobs to get our 5 trays full, using 8 cups per tray. So just for a baseline for you, that's in between 6 and 7 dozen. But we're ready to go. I'm gonna hit continue. The new software no longer asks you if it's pre-frozen or not frozen. So it's just ready to go now. So I'll catch you in a bit. So while you're waiting, take a minute to subscribe. It's totally free, it's totally fast. While you're there, click that bell to get notifications of future videos that come out. Also, give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed the video or if you enjoyed any other videos. It really helps out with the YouTube algorithm. It helps YouTube get these freeze drying videos out to fellow freeze dryers and people who are possibly interested in freeze drying for the future. And if you're curious about freeze drying or you haven't already, join the Facebook group or the MeWe group. It's a wealth of information. It's totally free, and we do a giveaway every single week. And if you need freeze drying supplies or add-ons or accessories for your freeze dryer, check out our store, freezedryingsupplies.com. And if you've been considering a purchase of a freeze dryer, check out our affiliate link. It'll be down in the description. It really helps us out, it helps you out, and it helps out the entire freeze drying community. Let's check on this corn. Another thing to note on the new software is we have a drying clock now, and it's actually counting up, so it shows how long your drying cycle has been on. All right, we are done at 52 hours and 22 minutes. That was a little bit longer cycle than we're used to, but I would imagine corn has quite a bit of moisture in it, and the fact that we did not pre-freeze will make a big difference, but everything looks really nice. I'm gonna take this upstairs and then we'll kind of sort through it up there. Also, one last mention on the new software. The final dry phase is now completely eliminated. It just does a countdown on the drying phase now. So all you have is freezing and drying, and that's it. So I mentioned with corn and lots of other vegetables that if you don't blanch them, they will actually change color. And I wanted to show you some corn that I freeze dried about 3 years ago. And I'm not sure how well it'll show up on the camera, but you can see I did not blanch this corn. This corn was blanched. See how much golden yellow color this corn is. This is almost like a bleached yellow, close to white color. So I have 3 bowls. I have one for the salt and pepper, one for the plain popcorn, and one for the popcorn salt. And I'm gonna take just about a cup out of each one of these, I think. Just a little bit less than a cup since this does shrink up a little bit. I think that it loses just about 20% of its volume, 20 to 30% of its volume after it's freeze dried. And then the rest of this is gonna go through the food funnel. I think I'm gonna do 2 cups on the bottom. I'm gonna seal that and do 2 cups on the top. That's probably a pretty good serving size for us. We're a family of 4. So I'm gonna start off with the plain corn. I'm just gonna start off with, I think, a quarter of a cup of water. And my goal is to kind of figure out what the magic number is as far as rehydrating. I can already tell that's not gonna be enough. So we'll add our second quarter. That'll put us up to half a cup. That looks pretty promising there. I'm gonna let this sit for a few minutes and then we'll heat it up in the microwave. And while we're doing that, I'm gonna take my salt and pepper. What I want to do with this is something a little bit different. So on the salt and pepper, I really want to rehydrate this with some butter. So I have just under a quarter of a cup of butter, and then I'm going to add just a little bit more water, because I think that corn is going to want to soak in that butter, which is going to be pretty amazing, I would imagine. And I'm hoping this will kind of give you the corn on the cob feel with just straight butter and salt and pepper. So I'll let this one sit for a few minutes and soak up that butter, hopefully. Let's go check on our plain corn. It's perfect. You can't ever tell it was even freeze dried. Really impressed. So I did put half a cup of water in here. There is a little bit of extra water. So I think if you just did a little bit under, somewhere in between a quarter and a half is the right amount. It's probably gonna depend on the corn, obviously. So our butter, salt, and pepper had time to sit. I threw it in the microwave. That's heating up right now. Last, I wanna try this popcorn just plain. And I don't even wanna rehydrate it, because what I was kinda trying to go for was sort of like a corn nuts thing, but I don't think it's gonna have the consistency or the texture of a corn nut. But I do know that the corn is super sweet, and it's really good just like this. I could eat this by the handful. It really brings out the sweetness in the corn. I know when corn's cooked plain, it tastes kind of plain, but man, freeze dried like this, it really brings the sugars out. It's almost like a snack. This would be one of those things that I think would be a fun game to blindfold someone and give it to them and see if they could identify what it is. Because I don't think someone could figure out what it is. It doesn't really taste like corn. It's almost more of a candy. It's really good.
I could make that disappear really fast.
So here's the moment I've been waiting for. Our salt and pepper rehydrated with butter. Oh man, that melts in your mouth. I gotta say it's really, really buttery, as you would expect for that much butter in there, but that is really, really tasty. I think that's it for today. I appreciate everyone tuning in. I'm gonna enjoy my buttery corn because this is awesome. And the corn turned out really, really good. Really happy with the end result. In the meantime, this is Retired at 40. Remember to live life simple, and we'll catch you next week.